This is gonna be like the fourth time I've done one of these for a game that I'm awful at. Just thought that might be worth pointing out. Most puzzle games will limit you to one, maybe two solutions, and as cheesy as it sounds, Infinifactory's only limitation is that there aren't really any, and there are just so many ways to just start on a puzzle that it'll probably turn your brain into mush. And that is awesome! Created by Zachtronics, the same developer behind Infiniminer, SpaceChem, and a slew of other smaller titles, Infinifactory places you in the shoes of a person that gets abducted by some aliens and tossed into trial after trial, forced to create factories for machines that the aliens are gonna use for who knows what. It's military stuff! After playing and being totally terrible at Infinifactory for a few hours, I've realized the following. It is absolutely 100% completely not at all your grandpa's puzzle game. Going through the first few stages, it's easy to think of it as such, but that's just your brain wanting to fool yourself so it can laugh at itself. Infinifactory asks you to use such abstract methods of thought to solve its puzzles that there's simply no way you can just mesh it in with the likes of other puzzle games like Portal or even Scribblenauts, which is, quite frankly, as close to Infinifactory's levels of abstract thought as you can probably get. The developer, Zach, has created a handful of deliberately educational games throughout his career, and I agree with him when he states that Infinifactory is a fantastic tool for teaching students the engineering design cycle, a process of finding a problem and solving it through repeated iteration for the purposes of achieving a goal as efficiently as possible. But apart from all that, how's the game itself? The areas that you play in are quite varied and surprisingly atmospheric. A good chunk of the levels so far are set on some Cloud City level spire in the middle of probably nowhere in various types of environments. This really makes it possible for the game to keep things fresh because it just switches the environment that you're in every time you move on to a new set of puzzles. The number of pieces available to use is just absolutely ridiculous. There are so many that you unlock as the game goes on that I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there's quite literally an infinite number of ways to solve some of the earlier puzzles if you ignore some of the stats that you can shoot for. Seriously, take a look at the subreddit and see some of the insane stuff people are coming up with. Speaking of stats, Infinifactory encourages you to make your solutions as efficient as possible by using either as few blocks as possible or lowering your footprint for environmental efficiency, I guess. It doesn't seem to have a direct effect on gameplay, but it's a really nice touch. I know that a huge part of Infinifactory is learning how things work and gaining confidence in yourself to come up with whatever way you want to solve the puzzle, but I feel like the game doesn't explain some of the rules quite well enough. For example, there are two puzzles where I got stuck due to just not understanding the physics or the rules of a piece that I was working with. Looking back, it feels almost embarrassing to admit, but I feel like Infinifactory should have taken just a bit more time to more clearly explain what I was getting into with these pieces. The first time, I just genuinely couldn't grasp how the pieces that you're trying to assemble would interact with a non-conveyor block and some blocks falling from high up. I just could not figure out what was going on with the physics and timing here, and in my head, I just couldn't apply it to create a solution. Believe me, I tried, but you know, that could easily be on me. The second one was a puzzle just a little bit later on after you get the welding blocks. I thought that the blocks needed to be next to each other to weld anything, and I spent a pretty hefty chunk of time trying to make it work. After a fair bit of frustration, I scrambled over to the internet to find a solution, and lo and behold, the welding blocks can function in a way that I had absolutely no idea about. I feel like the fact that I wasn't taught the limitations of these blocks and that they could weld at a greater distance than just being adjacent is what led to me struggling with this puzzle for longer than I should have. Despite that though, I'm confident in saying that Infinifactory is a kick-ass puzzle game like no other. Whether you use it as a way to use up time and come up with mechanical abominations, or you decide to use it to teach a young'un some abstract thought processes, it's definitely something that should be appreciated for its creativity and ability to make me stare at my screen for an hour while scratching a bald spot into my scalp. You can get Infinifactory for $25 on Steam. If you're a hardcore puzzle fan or an engineer and want a kick-ass mind-bending campaign and workshop integration for custom levels, then this is something worth looking into. That's it for this episode of Indie Bytes. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more. Be sure to send me any indie games you think I should check out either in the comments down below or on Twitter. My handle is @4kh. I'll see you next time.